He's now in Ireland. He's not going to have a news conference. When the world is exploding, I own property in Ireland. I'm not going to Ireland. The world is exploding around us. You could end up in a third world war, and this guy's going to be in Ireland and not having a news conference. He hasn't had a news conference, I guess.
Totally unnecessary trip, really, for him to go through his heritage at a time in which the world's afire. The lack of dexterity to pivot to go visit a nation that actually could use some assuaging, whether it's Saudi Arabia or berating like it's France. Let's bring in Douglas Murray, Fox News contributor, National Review Institute fellow, and author of The War of the West. How is, I know you're here now, but how is the president's visit perceived over there?
Well, of course, I mean, everybody's delighted about the Good Friday Agreement's peace dividend, as you just mentioned. I mean, it's been the conflict. I grew up in it. It was hideous every single day. There were deaths, there were car bombs. It was just terrible, and not just in Northern Ireland, but across the United Kingdom. So everybody's delighted about the Good Friday Agreement. However, Biden and the Democrats have been in a very strange position on this for some time. They have been confusing the Good Friday Agreement with recent things, including the Northern Ireland Protocol. And as a result, the post-Brexit issue. And as a result, have been beating up the United Kingdom for recent years and saying, you're putting at risk the Good Friday Agreement. Without getting into the details, it shows that there is a serious lack of understanding among the Democrats.
Talk about the Brexit, how Brexit
yeah, there is a serious disagreement among Democrats about what the Good Friday Agreement actually was. And I'd add one other thing. Some of this comes quite badly from the mouth of Joe Biden and indeed any Democrat leader. We should remember that the Democrats have people at the very top of their party, like Chuck Schumer, for instance, who a couple of years ago spoke at the Sinn Féin conference and called for a united Ireland. Now, just to put that into context, that is like the Speaker in the House of Commons coming to America and supporting the succession of one of the states in the Union.
Yeah, like Mexico, take Texas back.
It is an intolerable intrusion into politics. Nancy Pelosi previously said there will be no trade deal with the UK because of her misunderstanding of what the Northern Ireland Agreement was. So frankly, I mean, it would be nice if, apart from the platitudes, Joe Biden or any senior Democrat demonstrated they had any understanding of what has happened in Northern Ireland in the last 30 years, and I see none.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the president's being criticized for being there and saying, I'm going to go visit castles and I'm going to go learn about my heritage in Ireland. When you've got what's going on in China and Taiwan and what's happening in Ukraine, and President Trump was on with Tucker last night talking about this very thing, and the lack of press conferences. Reporters are out there asking questions or yelling questions, and the White House is saying, oh, he does answer questions, some of the ones that are yelled at him, but he hasn't had a press conference and he's not doing that. We see him speaking in Ireland, but not taking questions from the press. Listen to what President Trump said about this.
He's now in Ireland. He's not going to have a news conference. When the world is exploding, I own property in Ireland. I'm not going to Ireland. The world is exploding around us. You could end up in a third world war, and this guy's going to be in Ireland and not having a news conference. He hasn't had a news conference, I guess, in months.
He hasn't had a news conference in months, and that's the way they want it.
Yes, as you say, I mean, if you shout really loud occasionally at the end of a
so much better than a quiet
occasionally,
you can sometimes he'll be sort of jolted into going back and answering. Yeah. But yes, I mean, he obviously, look, for him, Ireland is his, as it were, happy place for the president. He loves talking about his heritage. Yeah, he loves talking about his heritage. He loves talking about that, and that's fine. Nobody can begrudge that. But as you say, there are a lot of other things going on in the world at the moment. And it's not, you know, as I always say, it's not the case if, you know, you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. You should be able to celebrate the anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, but also be addressing the other things that are going on in the world.
You're right. You should comment on what Macron said.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the French president's comments are that France always wants to pull away from American influence. It has done since the last war. Since 1945, France has always tried to carve out its own niche away from what it sees as the Anglosphere led by America. Macron saying that we shouldn't be sort of, well, you know, too close to the Americans has just in the last 24 hours caused quite a lot of concern, particularly in Eastern Europe and in Central Europe.
At a time in which you need to know where you stand.
Well, because
with China and Ukraine.
I mean, as somebody said to me when I was last in Ukraine, you know, the Ukrainians are getting through the number of bullets every something like 24 hours as France makes in a year. So, frankly, for Ukraine and any other country in the world, America remains your best ally. If you were to throw yourself into the arms of the French, they might be terribly welcoming and positively flirtatious. They won't be that useful.
Sure. And the thing about an ally is you can